you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Livin the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here, coming at you from beautiful sunny San Diego, and welcome back to the Livin the Dream podcast. And in today's episode, we are going to continue on with our review of the amazing book, Good Energy, by Dr. Calley Means and her brother, Calley Means. And in this episode today, we're going to be diving into a critical chapter about how to create meals that fuel good energy, the food that we can put into our daily meals that help fuel our good energy. The chapter begins with a startling revelation about the state of nutrition education in our medical schools, and also the influence of food companies on nutritional research and guidelines. At Stanford Medical School and in many other institutions, there was no dedicated nutrition course. Crazy. Astonishingly, 80% of medical schools, 80% do not require students to take a nutrition class, despite the overwhelming impact of food-driven diseases on our health. We are what we eat. The food that we put in our mouths gets broken down and it becomes us. Yet we are not required to take a nutrition course to become a doctor, which is insane to me. I majored in fitness and nutrition at my school, and coming out of college, I don't think I was set up very well for what I needed to know to make changes. I think it's changing, but it's very slow. And currently, the people that we go to for our health, some of them don't know a whole lot about nutrition from their college years. The stuff that they know is probably done by themselves, doing the research on their own, which nowadays doctors are so busy. Like, how do they have time to do that? The little exposure to nutrition that doctors get involves conflicting studies that they might have gotten, many of which are funded by food companies. These companies spend significantly more on nutrition research than the National Institute of Health, the NIH, skewing findings in their favor, it seems. Studies funded by food companies are biased. 82% of independently funded studies show harm from sugar-sweetened beverages. 82% of independently funded studies show that sugar-sweetened beverages cause harm, whereas 93% of industry-sponsored studies show no harm. 82% independent show that there is harm from sugar-sweetened beverages, whereas 93% of industry-sponsored studies show no harm. That is a bias. This biased research influences policymakers and shapes food guidelines. Those affect our school lunches for our kids and food subsidy decisions. A glaring example is the USDA panel that created the 2020 dietary guidelines for Americans, where 95% of the academics had conflicts of interest with food companies. This influence has led to misleading guidelines, such as allowing 10% of a child's diet to come from added refined sugar, a substance that is non-essential. You do not need it for survival, yet they say up to 10% of a child's diet can come from added refined sugar. That's crazy. In 2022, a prominent nutrition study funded by the NIH, Tufts University, and processed food companies ranked sugary cereals higher than whole foods like lamb or ground beef. This absurd ranking is part of the problem when it comes down to public health guidelines. Despite the abundance of nutritional studies, over 45,000 studies between 2020 and 2022, many are compromised by industry funding. So let's cut through some of this confusion. Here are some simple guidelines for transforming your health. Number 1, eat organic and minimally processed foods. Things like fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, legumes and beans, grass-fed meats and organs, foraging poultry and eggs, grass-fed dairy products, wild caught small omega-3 fish, definitely herbs and spices, minimally refined condiments, fermented foods, and clean water. Those are the foods that you should be looking to put into your diet. Foods that we need to avoid processed foods, refined sugars, refined grains, and refined industrial vegetable and seed oils. That last one, vegetable and seed oils, seems to be very controversial right now, but we'll talk about that in just a second. So the importance of clean water on this, I know that kind of was just thrown in there at the end, but water makes up of 90% of our blood and is crucial for our metabolic health. Unfortunately, tap water often contains contaminants. Investing in a reverse osmosis filter or a highly effective charcoal filter, there's one called Berkey, that can ensure a regular supply of clean water. Dehydration can stimulate the development of obesity as the body stores water in fat cells. So drinking adequate clean water is a simple yet significant step towards preventing obesity and maintaining your metabolic health. That's one that we might not have thought about. The role of grains in our diet. Interestingly, unprocessed grains are not essential for a healthy diet. We don't need those grains. While grains provide some vitamins and minerals and fibers, other foods offer more significant benefits with fewer drawbacks. For example, basil seeds. Basil seeds provide more fiber, more protein, and omega-3 fats compared to quinoa, making them a better choice for supporting your metabolic health. And additionally, modern grains can also contribute to something that they call leaky gut or intestinal permeability, and are often covered in toxic pesticides. So I think it's really important to talk about how to understand food labels, because marketing is so hard for the average person to really understand what's going on. When you look at something and it says conventionally grown food makes up 94% of our food sales in the US. This is food that uses pesticides, synthetic fertilizers, things that damage the soil and damage our human health. Conventionally grown. You want to stay away from that. There's organically grown food. This adheres to more strict guidelines and strict standards, minimizing toxic chemicals. However, it doesn't necessarily focus on regenerating the soil health that it is grown in. Regeneratively grown food is probably the best that you can go with. It focuses on soil health and biodiversity using natural farming practices that enhance nutrient density. It also helps our environmental health and the animal welfare, which is really important, I would say, for most people. So choosing regeneratively grown food is a powerful way to support both personal health and environmental sustainability. These practices lead to a healthier soil, more nutrient-dense foods, and more resilient ecosystem. And yes, you're probably going to pay for these a little bit more on the front end, but on the back end, if you really do the math, you're really investing in something that is so important. You think about the price that you pay for a 99-cent cheeseburger at a fast food joint. Yeah, that's cheaper right then and there. But in your later years of life, your healthcare costs, your mental health, your dependence on others as you get older because of your health going down, like these things cost. And I would argue that paying a little more upfront for good quality food so that you can have a better life and a better health span, I really think that is more of an investment that you have to think about. So yeah, a lot of people are just scraping by, and this is a really hard subject, and it's very nuanced, and there's a lot of things that go into it. So you have to meet yourself where you're at, but think about how much money we spend on all these apps and all these going out to eat and all these weird little toys that we buy on Amazon and all this stuff. Like, if we did a better job at prioritizing, I know I'm speaking to myself right now, if we did a better job at prioritizing and really cutting down on some of that stuff that doesn't really mean a lot to us in the long term and investing a little bit more in things that are going to help us in the long term, I really think that this is something that it just takes a little bit of a mindset shift. And once we all start investing in regenerative farmed food, it's going to be demanded more. And that means that the cost is going to come down. So over time, the more people that buy into this, the less and less it's going to cost us. And then we run into the issue of having, not enough space to feed the entire world. So yes, there are going to be pockets of the world that need to count on ultra processed food just for survival. So it's a very complex topic. But for those that can afford regeneratively grown food, that's kind of the way to go. Organically grown food, great. You want to stay away from the conventionally grown food. Let's break down what ultra processed foods are and why it's crucial to avoid them. Ultra processed foods make up 60% of the calories that we consume as adults. 67% of ultra processed foods by children. So foods in our diet, over half of the foods that we eat as adults are ultra processed foods, and even more in children. These foods are major drivers of disease like obesity, high blood pressure, dementia, Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance. A study of 20,000 participants for over 15 years showed that more than 4 servings of ultra-processed foods per day increased the risk of death by 62%. That's a big study over a long period of time. Each additional serving increased all-cause mortality by 18%. It's clear that we need to understand and avoid ultra-processed foods to protect our health. There are 4 classifications of ultra-processed foods or of foods in the NOVA classification system. So the NOVA classification system categorizes foods based on their processing levels. Number 1, unprocessed and minimally processed foods. These foods undergo little to no alteration after being removed from nature. So this is things like fresh fruits, vegetables, eggs, nuts, seeds, dried herbs, spices, and raw cuts of meat. Things like poultry and fish, and some minimal processing like washing, freezing, or pasteurizing is acceptable in this classification. So that's unprocessed and minimally processed foods. Then there's processed culinary ingredients. The next level is processed culinary ingredients. These are extracted from natural foods through processes like milling, drying, and grinding. Examples include oils, butter, sugar, maple syrup, lard, and salt. While some processed culinary ingredients can be part of a healthy diet, others, especially industrial vegetable and seed oils, can promote inflammation. Then the third system is processed foods. So it went unprocessed and minimally processed, and then it went processed culinary ingredients, and now it's processed foods. These foods combine minimally processed foods with processed culinary ingredients to enhance durability and sensory qualities. Examples include whole grain breads, tomato sauce with added sugar, and canned vegetables. Reading labels is essential to avoid those high levels of sugar that are added, those salt that gets added, and unhealthy oils that get added to foods. And then you have things like ultra-processed foods, things that your great-grandparents would not recognize. Created in industrial factories, these foods combine various extracted parts of different foods with synthetic ingredients like preservatives and food colorings. Examples of ultra-processed foods are all the things that we know: the sodas, the sweetened juices, the energy drinks, the flavored yogurts, and many, many other chips and cookies and snacks. These should be completely avoided as they significantly contribute to health issues. Other examples of ultra-processed foods to avoid: the beverages, anything that has like really, really high liquid calories and sugar, sweetened juices, energy drinks, flavored coffee creamers, any kind of soda, any kind of fruit punches. Then baked and bakery and dessert stuff, so like packaged bread, cookies, donuts, and cake mix. There's the cereals and the granolas that you should avoid, the sweetened cereals, the instant oatmeal packets, the granola bars with refined sugar added. They have some forms of dairy, like flavored yogurts, really, really processed cheese slices, and whipped toppings. The type of Ultra processed meat and poultry you should avoid are like chicken nuggets, really processed deli meats, hot dogs, sausages, those kind of things. Any kind of snacks that are like cheesy puffs, chips, flavored popcorn, fruit snacks, those definitely avoid if you can, or minimize as much as you can out of your diet. Frozen foods like frozen pizzas, frozen dinners, frozen burritos. I know pretty much my entire college diet right now that we're listing off. Sauces and condiments are so sneaky, like ketchup, mayonnaise, salad dressings, vegetable oils. Some of these things are so bad. They have so much added stuff in them. There are some really good companies like Primal Kitchen who has some really good dressings and ketchup and that kind of stuff. Check out Primal Kitchen or Thrive Market. Those are two places that we shop in our household. Avoid packaged meals like mac and cheese, Hamburger Helper, which was a huge staple when I was growing up. We used to only eat Hamburger Helper. It was insane how often we had it. Pizza rolls, ice cream bars, popsicles, sherbet for frozen desserts, even like things like canned soups that you would think would be fine. The old school canned soups, the dry soup mixes, the bouillon cubes, and then spreads like chocolate hazelnut spreads, Skippy peanut butter spreads with added sugar, and jelly that has high added sugar, those kind of things. I mean, listing all of that off, we kind of already knew that, and people are really becoming a little bit more savvy to that kind of stuff. And now that people are really understanding that these aren't the best options, there are companies out there that are really doing a better job at trying to create the same kind of experience with these old processed foods, but with a better quality food. Ultra processed foods not only harm our health, but also have a significant environmental impact. For instance, producing 1 liter of grapeseed oil requires about 120 pounds of tiny grape seeds. These foods are often packaged in unsustainable materials, contributing to landfill waste. Moreover, the cost of eating unrefined or minimally refined, sustainably sourced foods may seem high, but it's an investment in long-term health, like we were saying. Medical issues related to poor diet can lead to high healthcare costs and lost productivity in our work system. So tips for eating healthy on a budget. If you think that I really do want to start eating healthy, but I'm on a budget, I get it. Some really good tips here are to buy in bulk. So purchase whole foods like grains, nuts, and seeds in bulk to save money. You can go to Costco and they'll last fairly long. Shop seasonally. Seasonal produce is often cheaper and fresher. If you have the ability to visit some farmers markets near you, that would be the way to go. Shop seasonally. They're often a little bit cheaper and a little bit fresher. They'll last longer, so you won't waste money throwing out produce. I know a lot of times we go shop at the big stores like Vaughn's or Albertsons or something like that, and it seems like those fruits and vegetables go bad after like 3 or 4 days. It's so frustrating to have just purchased up a bunch of berries and then you look in there and they're just all moldy. So you kind of can avoid that when you go to farmers markets. You can grow your own, which is definitely more of a challenge than you would think. There's a lot that goes into growing your own. That's one of my long-term goals. I would love to be able to grow a majority of what I eat. But start with a small garden to grow your own vegetables and herbs. You can do microgreens super easy. There are these little like seed quilts that you can buy, and all you do is water them once. After 5 to 7 days, they pop up and you have a bunch of microgreens that you can snip off, and you can put it in salads, sandwiches, you can garnish dishes with them, and they just stay right there on your kitchen countertop. It's actually kind of a cool look. So I definitely recommend checking out microgreens. The one that I last got, I haven't gotten it for a while, but it was from a company called Hamama, Hamama. Really cool company there. I need to start doing that again, but you can grow your own microgreens. Cook at home. Preparing meals at home is more cost effective than eating out and buying prepackaged foods. This is a huge one. It takes time, it takes planning, it takes skill, but you can make this a fun event. You can make this something that you look forward to. You're saving money. You're getting food that you know exactly what's in it. Whereas if you go out to these restaurants, you have no idea how much or what it is that is all in your food. So that's another huge one. Cook at home and then plan your meals. yeah, it takes time. It takes a little bit of energy, but the more you do it, the more smooth it becomes. Plan your meals to avoid food waste and to make the most out of your grocery budget. Let's talk a little bit about yogurt. There's a lot of questions that I get on yogurt, and choosing the right yogurt isn't super easy, but there's the ultra processed kind that you shouldn't grab. I definitely recommend the things like Dannon Light and Fit yogurt. These contain 11 ingredients, including artificial flavors and sweeteners. The Yoplait Kids Cup or the Go-Gurts, definitely would avoid those. They have tons and tons of added artificial colors, flavors, tons of ingredients that you can't even read. The things that you want to look for that are good to eat. The Strauss Whole Milk Organic Greek Yogurt, STRAUS. That is a really good one. It contains only organic whole milk and yogurt cultures. You can get a bunch of different Greek yogurts out there. Like Costco has a really big bin of Greek yogurts that have minimal ingredients, no added sugar. Definitely one that you want to look at is one that is low in added sugar. Always choose organic yogurt with minimal ingredients, no added sugar. And if you can, live active cultures would be a huge bonus. So that's kind of be in that fermented food type of category. We're going to continue on with our journey into creating this good energy meal. And we're going to focus on stocking our kitchen with the right foods and understanding the essentials of a nutrient-dense diet. So here are some practical tips to get organic food as cheaply as possible. First off, we're going to buy in bulk. So we're going to purchase frozen organic fruits, vegetables, meats, wild-caught fish. Purchase that in bulk. For example, you can get 4 pounds of organic frozen cauliflower rice at Costco for under $10, which can make about 8 meals. 8 meals for under $10. That's awesome. Cook large batches. So cook large batches of organic beans and lentils. Bulk organic beans and lentils are often less than $4 a pound. You can purchase cheap organic nuts and seeds. Organic pine nuts can be expensive, but organic flax and chia seeds are often less than $6 per pound. Also, you can look for sale items. So go to these big bulk stores and look for sale items. Purchase whatever organic produce happens to be on sale that time of year. This can also encourage you to try new foods. And then I like to, there's a little bit of controversy here, but I like to buy canned wild-caught fish. So instead of fresh fish, if you buy wild-caught canned fish like salmon or tuna, you just have to make sure you don't get the kind that is like not really tested. There are cans that say right on the can that they're tested for mercury. I've been doing that for a while. It seems to work really well for me. You can get 40 grams of protein in one can. I know it's kind of gross, but I'll just eat one can in a sitting. I'll sprinkle some salt and pepper on it, and I'll take that as like a snack if I need to. I'm not going to open it up in a small room with a lot of people or in an airplane, but like I'll take it with me when I'm going to be on the road or something, and I'll eat that, and it'll be a great, huge protein boost for very, very inexpensive. Other things that you could do, you could join CSA programs. So a community-sponsored agricultural program. These you can sign up for and get organic produce delivery services that ship misshapen foods. There's a CSA program called Imperfect Foods that I think people talk about all the time. There are other things like that where they'll send you foods that the stores won't take because they're a little bit misshapen, but they're perfectly good. Those are called CSA, community-sponsored agricultural programs. There are plant-based proteins that you can get, so you can replace meat and fish with plant-based proteins like beans and lentils for some meals that will cut costs. Just know that the plant proteins are not quite as high quality as animal-based proteins. If you're getting your total protein amount, it really isn't that big of a deal. But if you're someone that undereats protein, let's say you're a vegan or you're on a diet or just you don't eat a lot of meat, that right there could be a problem just doing plant-based proteins. So you really want to make sure that you're getting all the good quality amino acids that we talked about in prior episodes. But plant-based proteins could be a way for you to cut costs if you need to. And then, of course, get out there. in your community and talk to farmers. At farmers markets, talk to farmers to get the best deals. Some farms use no synthetic pesticides but have not obtained a USDA organic certification yet, and that makes their products chemical free and likely cheaper, but they just haven't gone through the rigmaroles of getting the organic certification type of thing. So that might be a way that you could get cheaper food because they haven't gone through that process. They can't charge the amount that a normal organic food would go for. So maybe get out there and talk to people, talk to farmers at farmers markets. And that might be a good strategy to get some cheaper foods. Every day, and ideally every meal, you should maximize 5 things. Maximize 5 things and remove 3 things to support your good energy. Let's go through the 5 things that you should maximize. Number 1, micronutrients and antioxidants. Micronutrients are small molecules like magnesium, zinc, selenium, B vitamins, these small molecules that support cellular function. They are structurally incorporated into proteins. They serve as cofactors for chemical reactions, and they act as antioxidants and become precursors for key biological processes. They're just really, really important micronutrients, but also antioxidants. We went through what antioxidants are. Like vitamin E is an example. They can insert themselves into cell membranes and they can neutralize free radicals, which will help to reduce oxidative stress. Polyphenols are tiny plant chemicals acting as antioxidants and feeding the microbiome. So foods high in polyphenols include dried spices and herbs. There's cacao, dark berries, seeds, nuts, many vegetables, even things like coffee and tea have polyphenols. So we want to maximize your micronutrients and your antioxidants. You want to get your omega-3 fatty acids. So your omega-3 fatty acids tell the cells you are safe, and they contribute to anti-inflammatory processes. The Western diet, we often have such a high concentration of omega-6s, and the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3s is just so off that we are constantly promoting inflammation, and a better balance of these two omega-3s and omega-6s can really help to reduce our chronic inflammation. So things like chia seeds, flax seeds, walnuts, hemp seeds, small fish like sardines, mackerel, herring, anchovies, even the medium-sized fish like salmon, trout, fish roe, oysters, and pasture-raised, grass-fed game meats like beef, lamb, and even eggs, all great with omega-3 fatty acids. So maximize your micronutrients and your antioxidants, maximize your omega-3 fatty acids, maximize your fiber, the microbiome's best friend. Fiber tells the microbiome that I love you. It's a type of carbohydrate found in plants that is not fully broken down by our bodies, meaning it doesn't convert into blood sugar, glucose in our bloodstream. Instead, what it does, our gut microbiome ferments this fiber into beneficial postbiotic byproducts, things called short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs. These include things like butyrate, acetate, and propionate. These short-chain fatty acids, they get absorbed into the body through the gut, and they help regulate our metabolism. They improve our insulin and glucose levels, and they control our hunger and our appetite. And they promote anti-inflammatory effects. So fiber is a crucial thing for protecting the gut lining and preventing intestinal permeability, also called leaky gut, which can lead to chronic inflammation. Sadly, most people don't consume nearly enough fiber. The USDA's dietary guidelines for Americans states that over 90% of women and 97% of men, that's pretty much everybody, do not meet the recommended daily intake of fiber, which is already set kind of low. For females, 25 to 31 grams per day, ideally, and really we should be aiming for at least 50 grams. So shoot for at least 25 on the low side, up to maybe 50 grams on the high side. You want to start slow on this one though. You don't want to go from 10 to 50 in just one day. That would be not so great. Your gut would not like that at all. So just start slow, start adding a little thing here, and then slowly over time you can build. Some of the best ways to get your fiber into your meals include, here's a big old list. There's chia seeds, basil seeds, flax seeds, beans, especially lupini beans, tiger nuts, cognac root, artichokes, chicory, avocados, pistachios. Oh, I love raspberries and blueberries for this. So big time. Berries are a great source of fiber here. Lentils, split peas, almonds, hazelnuts, and pecans. The American Gut Project research showed that people with the healthiest microbiomes eat at least 30 different plant foods per week. Plant diversity and fiber are essential for a healthy gut and overall well-being. So look for 30 different plant foods per week, and you won't even have to track anything. If you can just track the number of plant foods you eat and get in 30, you'd be killing it. So number one thing that we're trying to maximize is micronutrients and antioxidants. Number two is omega-3 fatty acids. Number three is fiber. And then we're looking at number four, fermented foods. These fermented foods boost our gut health. They tell the body, you got this, you can do this. They contain live microorganisms such as beneficial bacteria and yeast that help maintain a healthy balance in our microbiome. Fermented foods are beneficial because of their bacterial, probiotic content and the postbiotics that they contain as well. Research shows that in a diet high in fermented foods, which is around 6 servings per day, I get nowhere near that. Significantly increases our microbiota diversity and decreases our inflammatory markers. So incorporating fermented foods into your diet can be easy, but just add a little bit to each meal to gradually increase your intake. Some of the best fermented foods include sauerkraut, fermented vegetables like beets, carrots, onions, minimally processed yogurt, if you can find the right kind. There's kefir, natto, tempeh, and then of course kombucha, but you got to get the kind of kombucha that has, let's say, less than 2 grams of sugar per serving. Miso, kimchi, brined cured olives, beet, kvass, and water kefir. Those are all good things that you can look for when it comes to fermented foods. And the fifth thing that you should maximize is something that we talk about all the time. You're probably tired of hearing it, but it's protein. Protein is the building block of health. Protein tells the cells, let's build. It's essential for maintaining metabolic homeostasis and supporting our numerous physiological processes. Adequate protein intake is necessary for making and maintaining skeletal muscle tissue, which regulates our metabolic health. Various amino acids in protein, such as leucine, lysine, methionine, they all play pivotal roles in muscle mass and function. The best ways to get more protein into your diet include animal-based protein like meats, beef, turkey, chicken, pork, and game meats like elk and bison if you can get access to those. Fish and seafood, dairy products like meat, cheese, yogurt. Greek yogurt is especially high in protein if you can get the no added sugar kind. And then eggs is great. You get 6 grams per egg, but you also get all the health benefits that eggs have to offer. The whole egg. The eggs are the multivitamin to the brain. Then you go to the plant-based kinds, a little less effective, but still effective if you do it right. Legumes like beans, lentils, and peas. You have soy products like soybeans, tofu, and tempeh. There's nuts and seeds like hemp seeds, chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, almonds, sunflower seeds, flax seeds, cashews, and pistachios. And then any kind of really good quality whey protein. When using protein powders, you can choose an organic and or grass-fed or regenerative option with minimal ingredients. Try to get the kind that doesn't have added sugar or colorings and no unfamiliar ingredient names. Now, the more natural you go with the protein, the less likely it is it's going to taste amazing, but really you want to try to get the kind that has a low, if your goal is fat loss, a low calorie ratio to protein. So I like to do no less than, if it said 15 grams of protein, you want around 150 to 200 calories. So you're looking at like a 1 to 10 ratio of protein to calories. So if you have a 20 gram protein shake, but it's 400 calories, that's really not a really good ratio. And if it has like more than 3, 4, 5 grams of added sugar per serving. You probably want to avoid that one. Look for a good whey protein. If you don't handle whey very well, there is a whey protein isolate that you can try. Or you can go with the plant-based proteins. Organifi makes a really, really good plant-based protein. Paleo Valley is a company that makes a really good bone broth protein. I really like that one. It tastes delicious. So yeah, you can look for those. We have done protein episodes before, but if you can't find those, let me know and I'll send you some options. Final thoughts on protein. Protein is a vital macronutrient and cannot be an afterthought in our diet. I think it should be the number one thing we focus on. It's crucial for many metabolic processes as we age, and maintaining muscle mass through protein intake and regular resistance training becomes just so increasingly important as we age. The recommended daily allowance, the RDA, for protein is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, or like 0.4 per pound. But really, this is not enough. That is just the bare bones minimum. You got to aim for, in my opinion, for at least 30 grams of protein at every meal. This is going to help promote your satiety, your hunger. It's going to help to minimize blood sugar fluctuations, and it's going to help to provide your body with the necessary building blocks for muscle synthesis. Shoot for at least 100 grams of protein, and then if you really want to dial this in, shoot for 1 gram per pound of desired body weight. For me, I weigh 185 pounds on a good day, so I shoot for 185 grams. Right now, I'm eating around 250 to 300, so I'm definitely eating more than I need to for 1 gram per pound, but I also am in a calorie deficit, and I move a lot, and I exercise a lot, so I'm trying to help with the building process. So definitely look to really prioritize protein. So those are the 5 things that you need to maximize. Let's talk about the 3 things that you need to minimize. What do we need to avoid in our diets to maintain good energy? If there's one key principle to remember, it's this: cutting out the holy trinity or the unholy trinity of refined added sugar, refined industrial vegetable and seed oils, and refined grains. This can completely transform your health. Let's dive into why these 3 ingredients contribute to so much bad energy. Number 1, refined added sugar. Refined added sugar is a major health hazard, causing more deaths and disabilities per year than COVID-19 and fentanyl combined. Let me read that again. Refined added sugar is a major health hazard, causing more deaths and disabilities per year than COVID-19 and fentanyl overdoses combined. It's an addictive and dangerous substance found in 74% of foods in the U.S. food system, and our bodies need 0 grams of it in our lifetime to survive. Among the worst offenders is high fructose corn syrup, a relatively new substance that is wreaking havoc on our cells and the energy producing capabilities of our cells. Sugar not only shuts down our body's satiety signals, leading to overeating and fat storage, but it also impacts children significantly. For instance, a single bottle of Coke today contains as much added sugar as a child might have ever consumed in their entire year 150 years ago. 1 bottle of Coke, more sugar than a kid would have eaten an entire year 150 years ago. Now, is sugar the devil? Should it be avoided at all costs? It's not so much sugar itself. It's how we're consuming it and in the quantities that we're consuming it. Most liquid calories, aside from water, black coffee, and unsweetened tea, most liquid calories contain empty calories that promote bad energy without any benefits. So eliminating sugary beverages like juices, even those smoothies that you think are really, really good at the store, soda, flavored milks, and definitely things like sports drinks. I know Gatorade and Powerade and all those aids, we thought that those were things that could give us energy, but those are for high-performing athletes that are diminishing their stores frequently. I have a couple of friends that drink Gatorades as water all day long when they sit at a desk and they get 3,000 steps a day. That is a bad combination. You do not want to do that. So minimize the liquid calories, reduce sugar and chemical intake that harms energy regulation by cutting these liquid calories out. Also, alcohol is put into this category. Alcohol destabilizes blood sugar and damages our mitochondrial function. This is going to lead to that oxidative stress that we've been talking about. While some studies suggest moderate alcohol consumption might lower the risk of type 2 diabetes, other research shows that no amount of alcohol is safe for the brain. In my opinion, most of alcohol's beneficial effects are from the social aspect that you get and the stress relief that you get, but really most people that consume alcohol, I might be generalizing here, in my world, and especially myself, I just can't do alcohol in a healthy way. I always overconsume, and the next day it compounds into bad food choices and less energy expenditure, and I just feel it. I know that it's not good for me, so it's a trade-off. If I drink, I know I'm trading off some of my health and my recovery and my health goals for whatever the occasion is calling for. So now I'm really trying to limit it to the celebrating times, the times that are meant for celebration, and it's a trade-off for my health. But limiting alcohol intake is essential for your optimal metabolic health. If you do choose to drink, maybe opt for organic spirits and wines. Maybe avoid the higher carbohydrate beer and minimize the sugary mixers if you're going to do that. So that is the liquid calories and the refined added sugar. Number 2 is the refined industrial vegetable seed oils. This is the one that's really, really controversial on the internet. There are some people that just swear up and down that these are the devil, and some people that are just like, what are you talking about? There's no evidence that these aren't bad. I read the book Dark Calories. I just finished reading it. Dark Calories by Dr. Catherine Shanahan. She made her argument very well that they should not be in your diet. And Dr. Calley Means agrees in this book, Good Energy. Refined industrial vegetable and seed oils such as canola, corn, sunflower, soybean, grapeseed, safflower, peanut, and cottonseed oils, these are prevalent in many of our packaged foods, even those labeled as healthy or fat-free or whatever. These oils are high in omega-6 fats, which skew our omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, leading to increased inflammation in the body. Creating seed oils involves intensive industrial processes, including chemical solvent extraction and heating. Since 1909, consumption of soybean oil has increased 1,000 times, making it the largest source of calories in the U.S. diet. This shift has replaced the anti-inflammatory omega-3 fats with inflammatory oils, contributing to widespread metabolic dysfunction. If you want to see something disgusting, go on YouTube right now and search how to make seed oils or how to make canola oil. The way that it looks is just like you'll never want to eat it again. So again, 3 things to minimize out of your diet are the refined added sugar, no liquid calories. Number 2, refined industrial vegetable and seed oils. And number 3, refined grains. Refined grains are another major contributor to bad energy. They are stripped of their nutritional value during processing, leaving behind only the starchy endosperm. This results in a high glycemic index, which causes rapid spikes in blood sugar and insulin levels. And then frequent consumption of refined grains can lead to eventually insulin resistance, weight gain, and increased risk of type 2 diabetes. Refined grains are a staple in many diets, but they can have significant negative impacts on our health. To understand why, I think it's important that we break down what a grain consists of. So you can think of a whole grain, which includes the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. So there's 3 parts to a whole grain: a bran, a germ, and an endosperm. Think of it like an egg. So the bran of the whole grain is the shell of the egg. The bran is the shell. The germ is the yolk. And then the endosperm is the egg white. So when grains are refined, the bran and the germ are removed, leaving only the starchy endosperm. So it's just like only eating the egg white. This process gives the final product a chewier texture and a longer shelf life, which is great for the company, but it strips away most of the vitamins and fiber. So without the natural fiber, these refined grains are absorbed more rapidly into the bloodstream, causing blood glucose levels to spike really quickly after eating. This can lead to a diet that is low in important nutrients and high in empty calories that are easily absorbed and digested. Refined grains are also usually grown with heavy pesticide use, and many processed grain-based products are high in added sugars and unhealthy fats to make them palatable. Research has shown that people who consume the highest amounts of refined grains have a significantly higher risk of death and cardiovascular events compared to those who consume the least amount of refined grains. Ideally, we should aim for 0 grams of refined grains per day, while whole grains are a better option. They really still don't offer much nutritional value as other alternatives, but they are a good source of fuel. So whole grains, if you're someone that's highly active, if you're someone that lifts a lot, works out a lot, does high intensity interval training, this might be something that you do want to put into your diet. It's all nuanced here. If you're someone that sits and only has 2,000 steps a day and doesn't do much resistance training at all, whole grains might not be something that you need in your diet. So instead, here's some easy and delicious grain alternatives. Instead of using white bread, opt for bread made from nut flours, like almond or coconut flour. You could do sweet potatoes cut lengthwise and baked. They can also serve as a bread alternative. Instead of flour tortillas or taco shells, use seaweed sheets, nori. You can use butter lettuce wraps. You can use collard greens. You can use egg wraps or lentil wraps, flax wraps, or spinach chickpea wraps. So instead of the flour tortilla or taco shells, there are so many different kinds of wraps that you can use. Instead of white rice, you could try cauliflower rice or broccoli rice. You could try shirataki rice or sweet potato rice. Instead of pasta, consider zucchini noodles. You could try sweet potato noodles, beet noodles, parsnip noodles, spaghetti squash, chickpea pasta, lupini bean pasta, lentil pasta, or black bean pasta. They also have cognac root pasta and kelp noodles, which are good alternatives for pasta. There are tons of recipes on YouTube that you can search for any of these things. I know pizza crust. Instead of eating pizza crust, you could use cauliflower crust, almond flour crust, coconut flour crust, or pizza bites made with sliced eggplant or sweet potato crust. And then instead of cereal or instant oatmeal, you could make a chia seed or basil seed pudding. You could make grain-free granola made with nuts and seeds, or no oat oatmeal made with nuts, seeds, and coconut flakes. But by avoiding these refined grains, along with added sugar and industrial seed oils and vegetable oils, you can avoid almost every ultra-processed food by doing this. This also means avoiding numerous additives that directly damage our health, such as synthetic preservatives, flavorings, emulsifiers, and colorings. All right, so before we wrap it up here, there's 2 other things that I want to talk about. Keeping your blood sugar levels stable, and about artificial sweeteners or natural non-nutritive sweeteners. So let's talk about keeping your blood sugar levels stable. Erratic, variable blood glucose is both a cause and effect of bad energy. High glucose levels create metabolic stress and lead to oxidative stress, mitochondrial damage, and chronic inflammation. So here are 9 strategies to keep post-meal blood sugar levels under control. Number 1, don't eat quote unquote naked carbohydrates. What that means is you want to pair your carb-rich foods with healthy protein and fats and or fiber to slow the digestion and reduce glucose influx. So don't eat your carbs naked. Number 2, sequence meals for optimal metabolism. So eat non-starchy vegetables first, then your fats and your proteins and or fiber, and then save your higher carbohydrate parts of the meal for last. So eat your vegetables and your protein, and you can do your fats then, or your fiber, and save your high carbohydrate parts for the last. So that's just like the opposite of what most restaurants do. They'll serve you the breads and the chips and all that stuff first so that you get hungry, and then they'll serve you the main dish. You need to flip that around. Number 3, eat earlier. Our bodies are more insulin resistant at night, so eating carbs earlier in the day can cause a lower glucose spike. There's also some research that says that eating some light carbohydrates right before bed helps you with sleep. So there's like so much nuance to this. But if you are someone that is struggling with glucose levels, if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, eating earlier could be something that helps for you. Number 4 is to tighten the eating window. There's a thing called time-restricted feeding, which most people call intermittent fasting. Time-restricted feeding involves eating all of your food in a limited window, which can lower your glucose and your insulin spikes. So you can tighten the eating window to like a 6-hour or an 8-hour eating window and only eat within that window. Number 5, avoid consuming liquid sugar. Okay, we've already gone over this and I've said it a million times, but it has to be said again because I still get people asking me, and I still have my family members and people that I dearly care about that are still drinking soda. There's just no reason. Like, even if you have to go to diet soda, you have to get rid of the Cokes and the Pepsis and the sugar-laden liquid sugar. It's diabetes in a can, like Calley Means says. Liquid sugar is absorbed quickly, causing glucose spikes. So focus on things like water, tea, coffee without the added sugar. Water with lemon and sea salt is fine, but keep your liquid to those 3 things: water, tea, or coffee. Number 6, add fiber to all of your meals. Fiber slows digestion and promotes microbiome health, lowering post-meal glucose rises. So you can eat fiber or you can take a fiber supplement with all your meals. Number 7, use food adjuncts like vinegar and cinnamon to lower glucose responses. They say that if you take a bottle cap of vinegar and you drink it with 8 ounces of water right before a meal, it helps to buffer that glucose spike. They say cinnamon has some of the same effects. So that might be something that you can trial and error with. Just make sure that you don't drink the vinegar straight. And you want to make sure maybe you drink it with a straw, or at least you avoid getting it on your teeth. It can break down your teeth enamel. Definitely dilute it in a glass of water, which also the water will help the mechanoreceptors in your stomach tell you that you're full sooner. So that's good for your satiety. Number 8, walk for at least 15 minutes after meals. This is a huge one. This one could be a game changer for you. If there's anything that you get from this episode, walk after all of your big meals. Just walk. This can reduce the glucose impact of your meal by up to 30%. It can help get your steps in. It helps you to get outside, hopefully. Just so many things that can compound from that one big lever of just taking a walk after your big meals. You can even get some social aspect if you take your loved ones with you and you just talk about the day, talk about the meal, talk about what's coming up in the future, like things that went well that day. Just make it something that you look forward to, stack it with your big meals, and just make it a thing and create a habit. And I guarantee you'll see change. And number 9, eat mindfully and with gratitude. Slow down and appreciate the sensory and spiritual dimensions of food to impact your blood sugar positively. Food is something that becomes you. When you eat it, give thanks to where it came from. All the hands that had to be on that thing in order for it to get into your meal. Be mindful and eat with gratitude. By incorporating these 9 strategies, we can move away from the ultra-processed diets that are just almost 60 to 67% of our diet. And then we can move towards whole, unprocessed, nutrient-dense foods, supporting our journey to this good energy. So that's the blood sugar levels and how to keep them stable. Now let's talk about how artificial sweeteners or non-nutritive natural sweeteners and how they affect us. This is also pretty controversial, but there's artificial sweeteners that Dr. Calley Means says to avoid these completely. They can lead to higher weight, they can lead to microbiome disturbance, and they can alter your GI hormone levels. There are some experts like Lane Norton who completely disagree with this. So take this with a grain of salt. I trust both of these people. So there's 2 really smart people saying the exact opposite things. It's kind of like the story of my nutritional journey of trying to learn about nutrition. But I think it also is so nuanced because of the things that compound with when you have artificial sweeteners. Like a person that drinks with artificial sweeteners also does probably other things. Like a person that eats a lot of meat probably also does a lot of other things, which is why meat got such a bad rap, because you're eating it with the buns and the greases and the oils and the fries and the sodas. So maybe it's not quite the meat. Maybe it's not quite this artificial sweetener, but until we know for sure, there are natural non-nutritive sweeteners that you can use as an option. Options like allulose, monk fruit, and stevia are better than sugar or artificial sweeteners, but also should be used sparingly. Maybe just use things like natural honey, and use that within reason. So let's recap how to create a good energy meal. Everything that we just talked about. To achieve and maintain good energy, it's essential to focus on incorporating nutrient-dense whole foods into your diet while avoiding the major culprits that contribute to bad energy. Here's the quick recap of how to build your meal that supports optimal health. Good energy foods, micronutrients and antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, fiber, fermented foods, and protein. So get those things in. Bad energy foods, the refined added sugar, the refined industrial vegetable and seed oils, and the refined grains. You might as well just cut those out and get things, alternatives. Instead of sugars, added sugars, try the natural ones, the honey, you could do the monk fruit or the stevia. Try, instead of the refined industrial seed oils, opt for healthier fats like olive oil, avocado oil, and coconut oil. Instead of the refined grains like the breads, the pastas, that kind of stuff, choose nut flours, cauliflower rice, spiralized vegetables. Focus on these good energy foods and avoid those bad energy foods. And that is what we're looking to do in order to create good energy meals. Let's continue to make informed, nourishing decisions that lead us to a life filled with good energy. Stay tuned for the next chapter. And that's it, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Livin the Dream podcast. Share the knowledge that you gain with your friends and family and hold each other accountable. If you enjoyed this content, it does help a ton if you could post a screenshot of this episode on your social media stories and include one takeaway that you learned. Make sure that you tag me and share your journey. Tag me at livinthedream_podcast or at coachdamian_SD and let us know how this episode benefited you. Let us know what we missed. Let us know what we got wrong. I know there's a lot of controversial stuff in this one. Tell us how you felt about what we shared in today's episode. We really want to know. Message us if you have any suggestions or tips that would help your Livin the Dream team or topics that we can discuss on future episodes. I'll be right here with you working on making us stronger, happier, and healthier humans. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.